Welcome to Puppies and Pigeons. Our first introduction to pigeons for the puppies usually occurs between 5 and 6 weeks. I just get a bag of pigeons and go out and start just dropping them, as you can see. Taking care not to let one flap in the face of a puppy. Don't want to scare them, just want to pique their interest a little bit. They usually we're watching for puppies' interest in the pigeons. Do they chase? Do they watch them? Do they ignore them? Just trying to get them familiar with the birds and see if there's a real true interest in them. Looks like everybody is mostly interested in this group. A little later we do the old wing on a string thing. We don't do much of this. It is fun to watch them come along. Most of them will chase for 3 or 4 times, maybe more than that when we'll flip it away from them. But some of them start right away. It's kind of fun. Some of them never do stop and point. They just love chasing. Like I said, we don't do a lot of this.
Nice. Oh, he's a good dog. He's amazing. He's got the point down, I'll tell you what.
Starting about 8 or 9 weeks, maybe a little bit older, we start working with the pups that we keep. Getting them used to it. Obviously, first time on a check cord is a little confusing. We start with using tip-ups. We don't like to use the launchers right off because the bigger launchers tend to make a lot of noise. We do have one smaller one that's not quite as noisy, but we don't want to get the pups scared right off the bat. We don't want to start any blinking or anything like that. An odd thing was last spring when we started with these 2 pups. In Wyoming, it's unheard of, but we had very little, if any, wind. Some days not even a slight breeze, which makes it a little more difficult. One thing we have found is if you go to a place that sells archery equipment, they have what's called smoke in a bottle. It's just a powdery substance, probably some kind of a talc powder that you can squeeze it, puffs out a little bit of the powder, and you can tell what direction the wind is coming from, and that helps a lot. The check cord, as you can see, controls the puppy, and then you're usually good to have a couple of grandsons to help with the flushing and the carrying birds around. Most times prior to the training, we like to get out and let the pups just run and burn off a little of that excessive energy. We had a lot of rain last spring, so between the snow melt and the rain, we had a lot of standing water, and this gave us an opportunity to let the pups practice and get used to water, and they seem to like it. I've often said with a large Munsterlander, you can lead them to water, but you can't keep them out of it.
Good girl. Good girl. Yep, I sure did.
Here I'm just getting the puppy used to a little bit of a pigeon and wanting to chase a little bit, letting him know what we're after before we actually go out putting the pigeons in a launcher. We've now transitioned from the tip-ups to the launchers. They're really handy to have.
Then push the red button.
Here's a friend giving some instructions
covers it up. You go slow.
to two of the grandkids
Ready to go for the
on
next
how
one.
those launchers work.
However you want to look at it.
Again, here's another one of those days where we didn't have any wind, not even hardly a breeze, which makes it a little tougher for the puppies to really get a good scent.
There's wind in it.
The orange in the top of the bush is just a piece of engineering tape with attached to a clothespin, and that's how we keep track of where we put the launchers.
Go ahead and watch it.
In this case, it was a tip-up. I was thinking we'd used a launcher on this one.
What's that? Huh?
Oh, good.
When we do go to the launchers, I like to give
Perfect.
them as much check cord as I can while still maintaining a little bit of control, letting them work and decide where we're going to go.
She's got it. Good girl.
Funny how the red one. Here we are headed back out. This is where the launchers would be. Of course, the trainer has to remember to take the launcher control with them. In this case, I forgot. So I had to walk back and get the controller. Otherwise, we'd be in a trouble. Oh shit, I don't have the controller. Now that I've got the controller, we've got a little bit better chance of having things work the way it's supposed to.
There's a little bit of a breeze, John. Not much, but a little.
Well enough, apparently.
Ideally, you want to launch the bird when you see the pup first recognize the scent. But on these days when we didn't have any wind, that was extremely difficult to tell when they actually hit the scent cone because there wasn't much of a cone.
Not much of a breeze.
And then I happen to be more often than not a little slow on the button because I always want to give the pup a chance to actually point.
It's coming from this way, John. It's coming from this way.
Okay, try that again.
From that way.
Here we are just working around the bush with the launcher in it, just trying to get the pup to where she can pick up some scent.
See how hard she's breathing because she keeps choking.
Yeah, maybe we need to put her on a...
Finally,
She got
she
it.
hit the scent cone. At that point, I just put all the slack in the check cord. I don't want to be holding her from moving. I just don't want her to get to it. Calm her down a little bit. Let her stand for a while before launching. Some people that I've trained with, at this point, they would pick the pup up and walk away with them. I don't like doing that. I much prefer to flush the bird and let them do a little bit of a chase. I want to give them the wrong idea that if they go on point, I'm going to pick them up and carry them away. Multiple training grounds with all kinds of different cover. Previously, you've seen us in a lot of sagebrush. Here we're in a nice big alfalfa field, and as you can see, the wind's blowing, and so the pups tend to hit that scent cone better, tend to point a little further away. Basically, a little bit of a breeze tends to make things a whole lot better. While they're holding the point. At this point with the wind, we more often than not, I completely let go of this check cord, let them drag it. They seem to not bother them at all on the drag. It's still there if I need to reach down and hold it, but then the next step after this is just taking the check cord off, and then the step after that is to dizzy a pigeon and not even use the launchers.
Way to go.
This is what we're looking for. Clover's doing a good job holding point on this one. Just letting her know that she's doing a good job before I launch the bird. And here's the goal. This is Breeze, at just a month or two over a year old. We've been working with her quite a bit. There's a dizzied pigeon out there. That was perfect. That's what I'm looking for. That's when she's doing everything I want her to do. Another thing we use pigeons to train with is stop to flush. I've discovered over the years that stop to flush becomes very important when you're hunting primarily covey birds, and you don't want the first wild flusher to have your dog running through the rest of the covey. This is Clover, and this is the first time we've even tried that with her, and so it's obvious that she really wants to go after the birds and catch up with them. We've been doing some pointing training, and I happen to have two pigeons left, so I figured, well, we'll give the two a try and see how she does. And she did pretty much exactly what I'd expected. A couple days later, we went out with Cedar this time to start with. And this is her first time going. Now I've got a lot more pigeons. I think I brought about 15 or 20 of them with me. I'm using a short lead. This is the first go around short lead. I'm carrying the birds and dropping them. So just trying to, and I'm using the whoa command. I think that at some point they start associating the flushing bird with the whoa command. If that's Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it does seem to eventually work out. Their mother Alpine, I've seen her stop to flush at over 50 yards from a wild flushing bird. So it's whatever we're doing seems to work more often than not. They get pretty smart pretty quick, though. They start watching me real closely because they know I've got the birds. It's just as most training, it's just repetition after repetition, and it seems to go pretty well. And switch the pups off back and forth so they both get some training, and I get my miles in. Clover's doing much better after that first day that you saw. She learns pretty quickly. Sometimes it takes just a little extra tug on the lead, but it's just getting used to doing it over and over, and they get the hang of it eventually. There we go. That's more what we like to see. Now the next phase is you get a helper, and you let the helper carry the pigeon bag and throw the pigeons. But again, it doesn't take them too long to figure out where the pigeons are coming from. Yeah, Cedar stopped really well on that one. I was glad to see that. And again, she stopped really well. Again, we brought plenty of pigeons for this little exercise. Where we're training here is just a mile from the house, right behind it, on a friend's property behind his house, and he lets us train there. I almost use this too much because the dogs start expecting a bird behind every bush. At this point, I'm now using launchers instead of somebody else, and that way it's even more like a wild flush. This is a day or two after Jim helped. We're trying to struggle between snowstorms and getting out when the weather's reasonable. There you see she's expecting the birds. She's creeping along. My last phase of this is going out in the end of June and into July and running them on wild sage grouse just to make sure they've got it all figured out.
Little independent puppies.
After a training session, it's fun just to take the dogs, the whole pack out, and let them run and stretch, have a good time, make it a little bit of fun. They've been under a little bit of pressure and stress trying to do the training, and this is how we let them relax.
Little Miss Independent.
I find with 5 dogs out at one time, I have to count 3 and then look for the other 2, trying to figure out where they are.
Come on, Clover. Good girl. Come here. Come on, Clover.
Hope you've enjoyed the video. Hope it helps.
Come here. Hey.
Clover gets a biscuit. This is how Janice relaxes after we've had a long summer of, and spring and summer of dog training. And this is where she has her quiet time. It must be the pink hat.